Like it take Islam, Brother Peter's ill. Brother Peter's Bay. Islam. Okay, must can't speak. I'm going to read right now from the Moorish literature. The Prophet makes a plea to the nation. Our divine and national movement stands for the specific grand principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And I, the Prophet, am applying to all loyal, faithful Moor members and American citizens to help me in my great uplifting acts of uplifting fallen humanity. He sent names to answer and apply to the free national constitution of this free national republic of the United States of America. That's why I am calling on all true national citizens to help me morally and financially in my great work I am doing to help this national government. For without a free national name, with a decent flag of your forefathers, there is not a national divine title of the government in which we live. This is from your true and divine prophet onto the all Americans and foreign sympathizers, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam. At this time, we're going to start part two, 13th and 14th Amendments, Moorish American Perspective, part two. The 14th Amendment created a new class of citizenship. The 14th Amendment ratified 1868, established a federal form of citizenship for freed persons. This new status, citizens of the United States, did not restore the national identity or lawful status of the people formerly labeled Negro, Black, or Colored. U.S. versus Cruikshank in 1875 said, the rights of the citizen under the 14th Amendment are not the natural rights of man, but those arising from positive law. That's interesting. Point of information, positive law refers to laws created and enforced by human authorities within a specific jurisdiction. It encompasses all forms of legislation, such as statutes, regulations, and judicial decisions that are formally established by a recognized governmental body. This contrasts with natural law, which is based on moral principles believed to be inherent in human nature. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali said on status and citizenship, if you are not a citizen, you are nothing. Proclaim your nationality and be yourself. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the Negro nothing but more slavery. These quotes reflect a teaching that excuse me, that status in law determines your protection, not simply race or history. Black is not a nationality, it is a social label that has no standing in international or constitutional law. Why nationality matters? Hey, Moorish American is not rejecting U.S. law. We are returning to our lawful status as free nationals under the Constitution. Prophet Noble Drew Ali emphasizes lawful, peaceful engagement, not rebellion or false sovereignty. The proper process, according to the Prophet, proclaim your nationality through the Moorish Science Temple of America. Acknowledge allegiance to the Constitution and the national principles. Correct your status lawfully, peacefully, and in line with the Prophet's instructions. Closing thought. We are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government. With that, we can open the floor for questions and answers and any comments to the four said statements. I want to first, Islam. I see your hand. That's brother? Is that brother Smithfield?
Islam, yes.
Islam. Praise Allah.
Islam, praise Allah. My apologies for earlier moments. For some reason, I dropped out and got cut off, but just want to give honors to you, dear brother, and honors to all the Moors on this call again for joining us for the civics class. And this topic is truly something that I know touches home for a lot of us. And, you know, it just makes me think about the discussions that I have with family members of mine or friends. And this came up recently with my cousin, who I'm fairly close with. And, you know, I think about the sort of narratives that a lot of Asiatics have to sort through when it comes to coming into the teachings of the Prophet, because you have to rethink a lot of things. And the conversation came to be about 13th and 14th Amendment. And my cousin was trying to make the point that the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, that the 14th Amendment was only about, you know, giving newly freed slaves citizenship. And whenever I think about the Prophet talking about that, the 13th or the 14th and 15th Amendment were not necessary for our redemption as citizens, but necessary for the southern states to rejoin the Union, it always opens people up to look at something else that they may not have noticed, which is that it established citizenship and helped further establish that requirement for citizenship for all American citizens, regardless of race. And with that, I say peace.
Islam, it's great that you say that, because when it comes to the South and it comes to the Prophet, I believe he was talking to them as well. Because what was their nationality before that was even enacted? They had a nationality, but it was people who didn't want to recognize them, or they were using labels that attached to slavery, right? Islam. Brother Clinton Bay, do you have any statements? Definitely would like to hear that. If you could speak, dear brother. Sheik, Grand Sheik.
Islam more. Praise Allah and honor to the Prophet. I can't really speak right now, but I'm listening in.
Praise Allah, praise Allah. I'm definitely going to go to Sister B. Williams L.
Islam, brothers and sisters. You know, as I'm thinking about what has already been said, it took my mind, my thoughts, to the condition that was then and the condition that is now. So you had the American flag, but what we keep forgetting is we have still to this day the Confederate flag.
Mm.
So you have what the 14th and the 15th Amendment is saying for those, our brothers and sisters who were in slavery. So it doesn't apply to the brothers and sisters, but at the same time, they're coming out of slavery and they didn't have a nationality. And at the same time, those who put them in slavery had nationalities.
Mm.
Think about it. They did.
Absolutely.
But when they put us in slavery, we didn't have a nationality that could be talked about unless you were free more. But everybody else was still slaves trying to figure it out. And I guess that's why the Prophet had to really come to let us know that the 14th and the 15th Amendment doesn't apply. But at the same time, it's almost like a paradox. It's almost like a catch-22, because the slaves would have had to proclaim some type of allegiance to their nationality, but they didn't know what it was. Only a few knew they were Moors.
Islam.
You know, so it kind of puts our brothers and sisters who were enslaved in a great predicament, just like it's putting them in a predicament now. So if you have your nationality like we have, Moorish Americans, of course it doesn't apply to us. But if you don't have your nationalities, and those who think they're in power will make it seem like it does apply to you, and you don't have enough education to understand that it doesn't apply to you. So what do? You fall in the bondage of them not knowing. So the redemption comes in understanding that this 14th and 15th Amendment doesn't apply to us because we're Moorish Americans. And they cannot put a blindfold over our eyes. And that's why the prophet is saying, if you have race pride and love your race, join the Moorish Science Temple of America, then you will know who you are and who your forefathers were. And that's the only way that this 14th and 15th Amendment will be abolished or not activated to our brothers and sisters who don't know. Please.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. I'm not cutting you off, dear sister. If you rest, let me know.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. Peace.
Peace. Islam. That's wonderful, and how you expressed it is very exciting. You know, because it brings to mind what's going on right now with the 13th Amendment. You know, you have a lot of states pushing to remove that exception clause from the state constitution, like California, New York, Oregon. You got prison labor strikes, you know, reparation claims. You know, you got California now granting reparation lawsuits or civil suits, and it's a lot of growing issues right now. The 14th Amendment, you know, citizenships. They're saying that it wasn't even for nobody else but those so-called slaves. You know, you got people they're limited on, they want to cancel birthright citizenship for children that's undocumented. And I really would like to know the Moors' thoughts on that, because I remember the prophet said, the prophet said we need to learn Spanish, right? And right, so I would definitely love to know some of the Moors on their thoughts on certain people within the United States trying to limit or cancel birthright citizenship for children that's born here, and that's for the undocumented immigrants.
Islam. Can I say one thing for a minute?
Islam. Islam.
I'll wait.
Smithfield, you wanna yield to this?
No, don't yield to me. I want to hear what he has to say, because these energies are coming as you speak in my mind. So I can wait.
Praise Allah.
Praise Allah.
Honest to the sister and honest again to all the Moors of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the time. I just wanted to just share, you know, it is something of concern, you know, all of these different happenings. And with the conversation with my cousin, there was a part of that concern that kind of made the conversation arise, because, you know, and I won't try to speak for him or fearmonger or anything of that sort, or try to cause any confusion. But what I get the sense from the conversation I had with the brother and other people is that they sense tension in the union and a question about whether it will stay united. And I think about oral statements that the prophet talks about. But for me, it just brings up the importance of bringing us as Moorish Americans, bringing up the fact that nationality is the standard, for citizenship, not only here in the United States, but it's the way to be recognized by all free national governments all over the world. So if we have a country who's, you know, living in the US, we've grown accustomed to these different labels and that have derived from slavery, you know, Negro, Black, colored, etc. But it's also understanding that none of these identifications, when it comes to color or even Indian, are proper. So when there's questions about Europeans or different states having the ability to decide on birthright citizenship, to me, it just speaks to what gives anyone the right to determine who's allowed to be a citizen here or not. What gives any one individual group the right over anyone else? And I think when other citizens of the nation, other people around the world may see it as just a color issue, when we look at it as a nationality issue, I think that gives us more of a I don't want to say battery in the back, but almost like a foundation to stand on, because what's happening isn't right. There is no inherent noble class here. You know, everyone is equal by that national descent and birthright. So establishing nationality as opposed to race and color as this determining factor for status, I think is going to continue to be important in these times. And with that, I say peace.
Islam. Sister B. Williams Ill, then Grand Sheik, Brother Clinton and Bay.
Islam, brother Grand Sheik, you want to go first?
Islam.
Okay. You know I'm gonna yield to you, sister. Stop it.
That's why I said.
Praise Allah. You know, I'm so happy to be here today because, first of all, we have two things that we can think about. First of all, we know we're dealing with the illusion.
Islam.
We're dealing with the illusion. There's nothing to fear. It's like the prophet let us know that the Europeans were going to let you down. So when the prophet said, it's really nothing for us to really be concerned with in a way, because Allah is the great benefactor. And he's controlling the destiny of everyone, and definitely the destiny of the Moorish Science Temple of America. But when I just listening to what we were saying, is that those who are trying to take away the rights of the people themselves are taking away their own right. Because remember, the prophet said the Europeans are 3,000 miles away. So while you're trying to cut our throats on every level of Asiatic nationality, nationalities, you know, not just Moorish Americans, but like what the prophet said, you're trying to cut it through the divine covenant of the Asiatic nation. What's really going on is the illusion is trying to deal with fear, make us deal with fear. But the prophet said it doesn't matter. It's going to all end up in the hands of the Asiatics in the first place. But on the spiritual level, the way I see it and understand it by Allah's grace is, Prophet Noble Ali, Prophet Muhammad, every knee is going to bow down to Islam. So it's not so much what they're doing as much as it is what are we doing. And I'm saying that we who are in the Moorish Science Temple of America, but the prophet is making the Asiatics of North America bow down to Allah. Everybody's going to bow down to Islam. We don't have anything to worry about. We just got to do what the prophet said, let it play out. Everybody else is going to start demonstrating for their rights.
Islam.
And that's just the truth. And the prophet said we must learn Spanish because check it out. If we ruled Spain for over 700 years or however many centuries, wouldn't it make sense that we have to obey what the prophet said and learn Spanish, because Spanish is throughout the world. You can't go anywhere in the United States of America without an American instruction and a Spanish instruction right by it.
Islam.
So it makes sense.
Islam.
We can't doubt what the prophet is saying. We have to obey, and we all, especially Sister B. Williams Hill, have to tie up her bootstraps. I'm serious.
Praise Allah.
And I was reading that today. Just one second, real quick, because I know we only have a short time. But I was talking to myself about Egypt, the capital empire of the Dominion of Africa. It's all right there. We don't have anything to worry about. We just got to remember who we are and where we came from. And the Europeans, what? They got to go back. They can't change anything. They can make us suffer. So if we hold on to Allah's unchanging hand, they're the ones that got to go back to Europe. We don't have to go back anywhere. Throughout the whole world, everybody is placed in their Asiatic space. Stop following the gods of Europe, of whom we know nothing.
Praise Allah.
Yeah.
Islam, Brother Clinton Bay, Grand Sheik. Thank you, dear sister. And I see you in Rivers Bay.
Islam.
Islam, brother.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Praise Allah.
Praise Allah, honor the prophet. I want to pick up on some of the thoughts Sister Williams Hill and the Moors were talking about, and that is, when we look at a situation, we gotta see what people what their vision is. So when you look at the Europeans in the United States, they have a certain vision that they see of the United States. You know what I'm saying? And this is why they start talking about that Western civilization is being attacked. This is why when they had the whole awake moment, they were like, "Oh, we can't put this stuff, in the school system." Remind me of where the prophet talked about how they used to burn the books. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
This way the people don't know the truth. You know, when you think, and the sisters talk about nationality, when you think about it, like, what is China's view of where they want to see themselves in the world?
Yes, right.
Where every nation, just like you have your vision and your family has a vision of what you want to do in this world, and your neighbors or your cousins and everyone else has a vision. We have to make sure we know what our vision is, like the sister said, because we're being guided by Allah through the prophet. And so when we look at it, what did the prophet, the narrative that the prophet gave is that the European got to take water. The narrative that the prophet says with the Spanish part is important because it says in the chapter on the divine origin of the Asiatic nations, says the key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations, and there's an instruction where it says the Moorish Americans and Mexicans in North America. See, so this whole movement of what's going on in the planet, the Moorish Americans and Mexicans, in my understanding, got to hold it down here in North America. So then I say to myself, well, before you join the temple, and think back before you join the temple, what were your thoughts on Mexicans? And what was your thoughts?
I grew up
What
with
was your thoughts on, well, if you grew up with them, you probably have a beautiful thought. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when you say the average narrative that's given in America and the average Asiatic, just like he calls himself a Negro,
They
you know what I'm
racist.
saying? Exactly. What do you think about the Chinese people? What do you think about the Arab people? You know what I'm saying? And then you join the temple and you find out about we're all connected from the ancient Canaanites and Moabites and Hittites. And, you know what I'm saying? And
Praise Allah.
you start to look at people differently. And so I think that we're going to be working in conjunction. As the prophet says, he's going to keep the European here long enough before we're going to run a government. And I mentioned this in our last class, that switching of the Moorish flag being in control and the American flag being subservient to the Moorish flag in the United States of America is like going from the eagle to the pyramid. And so we want to do it through love. We want to do it in a certain way. But the Europeans, they know because they study the prophet. It's not like a surprise. They're sitting there saying, Well, they want to take over the country, and it's their country. We know that, but we want to hold on as much as we can hold on.
Praise Allah.
And that's how they doing. We gonna go out like ninjas, man. We ain't gonna leave. We ain't gonna do no. We're just gonna try to hold out here. And meanwhile, they're trying to create this narrative with all these brothers and sisters coming up. And Texas used to be Mexico, and
Yes.
California used to be Mexico, and
Yeah.
New Mexico. This is their land, and you're like, you stole their land. You
Mm-hmm.
see what I'm saying? Put these borders up, and then try to control the narrative for them to travel. So I just think that once we stay with what the prophet said, within love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like people say, well, the prophet's not a racist, but he's racial, meaning the foundation of humanity is the nation state. And when we can respect each other, when the Moorish American has the respect for the Japanese American, and the Japanese American has the respect for the Moorish American, and we have respect for each other, and even goes into the Italian American, and we establish that fact of respect. That's the level of humanity where the prophets talk about the noble of life for humanity. You know what I'm saying? That you could be able to appreciate your own family without disrespecting someone else's family. And just like in society, we got to learn to love instead of hate. Peace.
Peace. Praise Allah. It was said, that's why I love the prophet. It said, it is truly wonderful and astounding to see one coming to this mad human drama for the sole purpose of saving humanity, losing all sight on those things worldly and yielding absolutely to a cause higher than has ever yet been attained. Praise Allah. Islam, I see you. I think he fell off. Um, Go ahead, brother Smithfield.
Mm-hmm.
Islam, brother, and Rebels Bay is still on.
Oh, okay, I see him now. Brother N Rebels Bay.
Islam.
Islam.
My brothers give praise to Allah and everything to Islam and everything. Whoever opened the meeting gave it to in the relationship to what Brother Condena Bay has spoken about, Sister B. Williamsville. Our thoughts are the same because what happens is sometimes the more science stuff of America, the people that we have come in, you come from being an Asiatic world where that's the way Asiatics think. So now you got to study the way the prophet has laid it out, and therefore you know what's going on and why things happen the way they happen, and the waking of the nations, and the fact that I don't know about everybody else, but when I go out, more and more emphasize the fact that you're a Moorish American.
Mm-hmm.
You're not an African American, a Negro, and all that kind of stuff. You're not white. You're not black. All of those things that society has fallen into. So those are the things that are making it difficult for people to make the transition. And sometimes, you feel, like you're powerless. But in actuality, at some points, we read the Moorish historical message to America about the enforcement of the law, and anyone doesn't proclaim their nationality, your national descent, the abuse. And I'm saying, like, wow, I never thought I was going to see it in real time today, about the abuse that people are putting on. And I'm not saying that they're supposed to do what they're doing. I'm just saying that these are the prophecies that the prophet had given us so that we take his divine instructions so we can be saved. And as the brother said, always look at the Mexican America. The Mexicans is different because the prophet did talk about the Mexicans in America and the Moorish Americans and the Mexicans. So when I look at them, I say, okay, it's time for us to really step up our game as far as trying to network more with those different nationalities and to proclaim who we are. And praise Allah that, a lot of us are saying, you definitely better carry your nationality, call your back pocket for real. And I'm glad I don't see a bunch of the Asiatics jumping up in front of YouTube talking about how they ain't got to do anything with the police. It's going to be really testing right now. And so this is going to weed out who is truly following the teachings of Prophet Noble Dwelling, who is following the teachings of some other people that whatever they're doing, and how we have to take these, we can take these divine instructions and save us and save the nation. So I'm glad that you're having this conversation because, yeah, the nations are getting stirred up. Chapter 14, when John was talking about all the people that are in government today and what they're doing, I said, wow, we're living in these days and times right now. And then when we look at, with the Moorish leaders' historical message to America. And he's putting the age at. We do have genuine American citizens. They just want to cower down under somebody else at some point. But sometimes they stick their head up. I said, oh, okay, these are the people that the prophet, the genuine American citizens. And remember, the prophet was here when Woodrow Wilson was here. And if you know anything about Woodrow Wilson, yeah, he was pretty bad. I mean, as far as the Ku Klux Klan coming in and all that kind of stuff like that. And also that he had a stroke later on when he was in office. So I saw that to say that, yeah, don't be dismayed by what's going on, but realize it's going to be your turn as being next. So we have to stand together strong as a Moorish Science Temple of America, and don't let no foreign teachers creep in here and have you think that you're a Negro, black, colored, or a foreign Muslim and you don't belong here and stuff. Don't do that, because then you're going against the teachings of the Holy Prophet. Peace.
Peace. Praise Allah. I love the way the Moors are all, in sync in one mind and thought. It's so beautiful, and we also must take our place in this government. That's one thing that I believe wholeheartedly we have to show and prove. We have to manifest these attributes to these to the ones that are voting for the people to lead the nations, but first we got to have that content and quality of character. Islam, Brother Smithfield.
Islam.
Islam.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. I once again just want to give honors to all the Moors on the line, just for their thoughts and for their vibration. And it's a blessing to be able to be on this call again. And when the Moors are speaking, it just made me think about the times that we find ourselves in. And as Brother Ed Marbles Bey had mentioned, that, the line in the sand is going to get deeper, seeing where people are. And when Grand Sheik was mentioning, the state of mind of a lot of Asiatics, it made me think about how general, we can be when it comes to describing things. Like if I think about, how I looked at the world, it was like there's blacks and there's Asians and there's whites and there's like Mexican people and there's Chinese people, I guess. And I know I said Asian before, but it gets to be confusing because it's not specific. And when we talk about nationality, and the Grand Sheik was making the point about nationality being the order of the day, and nationality extending out of families and tribes and groups that come together on these principles and build a free national constitution and have a flag that represents those values and represents those symbols. And when you look at what's happening in the US here, and even what's happened to our people here in the Americas, I think about slavery, I think about deportation, I think about immigration, and I think about family separation. So if we're talking about nationality as being the binding, what holds us together, right? And we talk about religion, in the definition of the word, or in the etymology of the word, it talks about religio, in Latin, or to bind back, right? Or to bring together. The prophet's trying to bring us together, as he says, so we can take our place amongst the affairs of men. And it is exclusively about bringing the family together, the families of nations together, knowing that we are one. And that way we can get more specific, because especially in the US, there's so much nuance. Friends of mine and people that I've talked to recently, and just hearing about their backgrounds, we have people who are made up of multiple nationalities. And the more specific we get with these concepts, the more people will be able to understand themselves. Because we know that there are people in different states of mind, but even as I talk to them more about how there are Asiatics who are coming to the concept of nationality, or learning to embrace their nationality more, or even Europeans that are coming to embrace their nationality more. I still have interaction with Asiatics that know their nationality and tell me they want to assimilate into whiteness. We're still in the sinful and fallen state of humanity. But the prophet gave us everything it takes to save a nation, and told us to take it and save ourselves. And we can be that example by going back to the state of mind of our forefathers and returning ourselves and everyone back to this standard, which is back to that holy covenant. honoring thy mother and father, that thy days may be longer upon the earthland which the Lord thy God Allah hath given thee. We're trying to honor our mothers and fathers by speaking up about our nationality. And in that, in turn, we can encourage the rest of the nations to do the same by reminding them that they are a nation, by remembering that we are one ourselves. That I say peace. Praise Allah.
Islam. It's great that
Islam.
you said that. I see your hand, brother Rebels Bay. I just want to
Islam.
say one thing. It's gonna happen, right? But we also have to take account of the climate, like Brother Clennon Bay said, like what's really going on, right? And it's manifesting some of the things that he was saying. We just look at the churches. They're doing uplifting acts as we speak. Now, remember what the prophet said. They only got a reflection of light, of truth. They don't have the real truth. Islam, brother Rebels Bay.
Islam, and I'm glad you said that, because if you join the Moorish Science Temple of America and you listen to the law that is said at the beginning and at the end, if you get dissatisfied, you turn your card button fair to return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. So it doesn't mean everybody that come in is going to be saved. You say you better cast a net and it'll be a handful to be saved. What are all these people doing here? I can, count fingers in my hand how many people are going to be saved. So when we look at the chances, and it's not saying that you can't do anything, it's just saying you make the determination, I'm going to follow the prophet or I'm going to follow the world. So when you make that distinction, you have to stand up and say, well, I'm not going to follow the world. If they call themselves Negro, black, color, I don't call myself that. I am a Moorish American. There is no white land, there is no black land. And if you explain to them in a simple, loving fashion, they might begin to understand just a little bit. But because the mental slavery that possesses, there's a brother that I talk to all the time, and he's always coming back, and I always tell him, that's mental slavery. You want to cling to those things that delude to slavery.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. And that's why the prophet said, turn to whom? The church and Christianity back. If you start clinging to that stuff, Halloweens, Christmases, all that stuff that goes on, then you at some point going to have to make that connection. You have to cut it off, and I'm going to follow the prophet. That's why there's only a handful of Moors in the temples now. There's only a handful of Moors that were still here today because they're trying to hang on to what the prophet said. It doesn't mean that you're perfect or you're going to be perfected. It doesn't mean you're perfect now. But the more you continue, the stronger you will get in the teachings of the Holy Prophet. That's why everybody, to be honest with you, come to Moorish Science Temple. Sometimes it's better to stay a lay member. Don't say you want to become a sheikh. Don't say you want to become a this. I don't want to become that. Because when you start going up the ladder, then that means that the more difficulties and the more challenges is going to put on you to be the leader that you're supposed to be. And not sound about voice lip. I'm talking about actually leading people. So when the brother says, take your place in the affairs of men, me personally, I try and slip in and do certain things. But after a while, if it gets to the point where it's Negroism, then I gotta step away because I'm not a Negro. Blackism, I'm not a black person. So that's the tricky part. That when you start talking about politics and all that kind of stuff that goes into work, that's the tricky part, because you always got to remind people, whoever you're amongst, that I am a Moorish American, and we don't do so and so, and we da 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 da. It's not saying that I don't love you as a brother and you Asiatic like me. No, he said, no, I'm a Moorish American brother. I'm sorry. I don't do so and so and so. I don't, whatever. That's what Negroes do. I don't put that in there. But that's what they do. And that's what we come. And that's who the prophet came from. When you look at it, I'm going to get off. That's why the prophet, when we do the divine constitution bylaws, he came for Negroes, black people, colored folks, all of those type of individuals. He didn't come for Europeans and the Asians that know their nationality already. So when you step out, like I know Sister Williams did, when you step out amongst other nationalities, they'll respect you because they know who you are and what you stand for.
That's right.
But if you start acting like the other Negro, in fact, sometimes I went home and put my fez on so they don't think I'm a Negro. No, I ain't no. You may look at me and assume, but you got to add, like the prophet, you got to ask a person's nationality. Don't assume that he's a Negro, black, colored, European, whatever you want. Ask him their nationality and their intelligence. So that's the thing that we're coming up. If you're going to get shaky in your faith, that's because you really haven't learned yet. You haven't been in long enough to really see if this thing works for you. And that's why it's good to have the meeting. And it's good to have elders, especially those that have had experience, I remember someone was going about Brother Love here for 30 years of experience and learning from him. I didn't go there and try to take over. No, tell me what it is, you know. And then you got to listen and you say, oh, okay, now I see why I got to do this, why I got to wait on that, why I got to do this. But when you start walking in the footsteps that he's opened before, this gets better and better. The only reason you get scared is because the Lord said, well, you know, ain't nobody out there like you like that. You know, that's what happened. So just take your time. Don't beat yourself up. I think at some points, the foolishness of folly. The prophet talking about folly. Men sometimes fall for. He laughed at that. And I said, wow, I'm going to laugh at somebody doing something stupid. Now I understand what he means, because at some points, you really can't convince a brother and sister not to go down that road of Negroism, because he'll feel comfortable because you got a lot of people around him and they all rah him in. So I don't get into this discussion about certain Asiatic politicians, because I just remember, and I tell them the ones I'm around, they're politicians. They never said they were stood up for the people. They're politicians. And I'm scared of them because they'll turn on you, because they're politicians. They're not about the people. They're really for the people. They wouldn't be a politician. You know, so remember, when you see the Martin Luther Kings and you see the Obamas and you see Asiatics, you know, that doesn't mean that they're godlike. It just means they're Asiatic, and you got to see somebody that looks like you to make you feel good that, well, maybe I can do it too. And you can, because the prophet prophesied that about the year 2000. But in any case, I'm going to shut up. Peace.
Islam, dear sister.
Islam, brothers and sisters, I think what we have to realize is this as well. When I'm in the world, this is not what you have to realize, but let me get to what you got to realize. The prophet said, when he said, I love my people, right? And I desire their unity in mind back to their own free national and divine standards, because day by day, they had been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. Then he goes on to say all the other nationalities. But what I've learned in my journey, when I'm out in the world and I observe the Japanese and the Chinese and other nationalities, right? What they have that I see that we may not have, and we need to inculcate, they have discipline.
Mm.
They have discipline. When they're out there in that world, when I see them, there's a certain energy that they carry with themselves. And it's
Race pride.
yes, that's what it is. It's race pride. And they don't necessarily try to let their energies merge with yours. They go about their way like they're focused. They're focused on whatever they're trying to achieve, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we have to realize is this, where we have to begin to honor uh, the principles of our mother and father. We have to realize that we're ancient and we have a legacy that is so old, so ancient, that none of the brothers and sisters have what we have. And then we have to realize that the prophet said we have to stop and not accept amalgamation. And amalgamation is running rampant.
Mm.
And it always has, but now it's even more profound in our time, in our era of time. So it's incumbent upon us, and we don't know how many decades it's going to take, but we have to take hold of ourselves as scholars, brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, and we have to begin to direct our youth, our children, to what we know they're supposed to be studying so that they can take their places in the affairs of men. And we have to let them realize that the prophet has come to reverse our character, because we are divine, but we have been caught in matter. We're caught in things that are perishable. So we have to begin to go more into our inner self so that we can understand how to communicate with our holy and divine prophet Noble Drew Ali, who is in the other planes. Because he said, if you want to come up and see me, come. The prophet said, I'm doing more for you, I'm going to paraphrase it, where I am than here. Well, how are you going to know it if we're not trying to go within in order to hear from the ethers of our of our ether plane. This is serious and it's real. But
Praise Allah.
we can't be having on our turbans and our fads and we shucking and jiving and acting like blacks and Negroes and doing all the things that they do. The Prophet loved for us to have fun, but he didn't tell us to have fun like the blacks and Negroes and the coloreds, and we're idol worshiping all of that material lower self stuff.
Praise Allah.
We got to change. We got to change our consciousness and love Allah in a noble way that doesn't debase us. Whether we got our turbans or our fez on, our auras and our characters are telling the other nations, no, these brothers and sisters right here are different.
Islam.
Different. Just the majestic thing. Our prophet was noble and holy. We have to activate that noble and holiness within ourselves. And we have to stop being jealous and hating each other.
Mm.
In the Moorish Science Temple of America. I haven't even got out yet. I mean, it's really true. We have to stop dividing ourselves and be all for one and one for all.
Islam.
Peace.
Peace. I definitely like the camel war with the sister and the brother, Rivers Bay. You know what? We're missing the youth, right?
Yeah.
When you say, you know, shucking and jiving and partying and have a good time, we gotta also keep in mind a lot of us don't even know how to have a good time without the knot. We gotta relearn that. Like I even because I had to relearn, you know, what I deem as fun. You know, just and recalibrate my steps on what's fun. Because any fun that has destruction attached to it is not fun, because it's not a salvation. It's not a saving power in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I also wanted to say about, you know, we got to become these politicians, but not the definition of their politician, which separate church from state, because we don't separate so-called church from state. Right. We don't separate our morals and principles from how we're supposed to or going to govern. Mm-hmm. At this time, I like to call back the Grand Sheik for the last words, and if possible, I like to ask Brother Gibbsdale to read the warning. Islam, Brother Clinton Bay.
Islam more.
Islam.
Praise Allah. I'm just want to thank all the Moors for coming on for the class and invite them out to our charter day, which is going to be in about 2 weeks, 27th of July on a Sunday. And hopefully, Brother Gibbsdale, you know, we'll see that more come up out of Baltimore and come on up to Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying, Brother Turner Bay?
Yeah.
Maybe he wants to commit. Maybe he wants to commit today. All right, peace and love, Moors.
Peace and love. Brother Gibbsdale, can you speak or no? Praise Allah, praise Allah. Brother Smithfield, could you take us out? Acting chairman?
Islam?
Islam, Brother Gibbsdale. Hold on.
Islam Muslims, I'm not available to read right now, but praise Allah. I just want to take Islam for me.
Praise Allah, praise Allah. Brother Smithfield, could you take us out? But before you do, I'd like to say praise Allah to all the Moors that came on the line. I loved every one of you of the Moors' message. Definitely gave me inspiration. I love to have inspiration, especially when it comes to the Prophet and his movement and thoughts about where we're to head and where we're gonna go and how we should go. Especially when we have our elders on Islam, to Sister B. Williams Zill, Brother Revels Bay. Definitely. Always a pleasure to have Brother Gibbs Zill. You already know Grand Sheik, Brother Clinton Bay. Islam to all the Moors. Thank you, Brother Smithfield. Could you take us out? Islam. Oh, there you go.
Islam, apologies. Islam, can the Moors hear me?
Yes.
All right, praise Allah. Islam, did you want me to take out in the prayer or read the warning?
Yeah, read the warning and prayer. Thank you, brother.
Praise Allah, praise Allah. Apologies. 1 second, Moors. Islam?
No.
Praise Allah. January 15th, 1929. Prophet warns all Muslims, governors ordered to reach proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work or in the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing cards of Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple of the Prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive the reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true ones will and must obey the laws laid down to them by their Prophet. If they lose confidence in their Prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the Prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet Noble Jar Ali, and if the Prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The Prophet therefore is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the Prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways by the order of Prophet Noble Jar Ali. Praise Allah. Islam?
Well,
This time, all those that are able, rise and face the east. Feet in a 90-degree angle, 45 on the left, 45 on the right. Please raise 5 fingers on the left hand and 2 on the right. Repeat after me, the Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father,
Allah, the Father of the universe,
Father of love,
Father of love,
Father of love,
truth,
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 peace,
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 freedom,
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 and justice.
and justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector,
Allah is my
Allah is
protector,
Allah is my protector,
my guide,
my guide,
my guide,
and my salvation.
my God and my salvation.
and my salvation,
By night and by day,
by night and
by
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 night
night
and by
and by
day.
day.
through his holy prophet,
through his holy
Through his
prophet,
holy
Holy
prophet,
Prophet,
through Ali.
through
Drew
Ali.
Ali.
through Ali.
Amen.
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 Amen. Peace and love, Moors. Everybody
Peace and
travel
love.
safe.
Peace and love,
Love.
dear Moors. Honor to you all.
Peace and love.
Peace.
Praise Allah.
Praise Allah.